Well, hello again, and welcome back to Carpo's channel for another beautiful day in December. Today is December 4th, 2021. Usually I have to think about the date, but I'm going to a concert tonight from a band called Lettuce. Yes, like the food. And they're pretty good. They're a jam band. But anyhow, I thought I'd make a video before I go. I've had a lot of thoughts on my mind as usual. The reason I do this channel is because I have a lot of thoughts and I like to share them. Whether it's arrogant or egotistical, I'm kind of way past that with as many videos as I've made. But today I wanted to read something to you and talk a little bit about spirituality and connections to what we believe to be the truth about existence. The spirituality in the sense of what is out there beyond us. What are we a part of, the bigger picture? Mind you, I always tackle this playfully. I have no specific religion of my own or a belief system that I grew up with. But let's just say this. When I was younger, a teenager, into my 20s and 30s even, I was much less tolerant of others' beliefs when it came to religion because I'd had myself preached to so many times. I felt judged only by those who were religious or spiritual, whatever it may be, but I called myself spiritual even as a teenager. And my thought was this: I believe in a higher power, something greater than me, but I can't define it, and it's not really my place to define it. So I grew more tolerant of specific particular religions, like Western religions and Eastern, because I realized that when people have a group of people they can stand next to and have similar beliefs, it helps them. And if it helps you mentally to get through this crazy thing we call life, I say it's a win, as long as no others are harmed. But we could talk about the Crusades all day, and the angry atheists, and the terrorists, and the nutty Christians, and a lot of the different problems we've had in the past. But generally, that's all forgiven. Let's start fresh, right? With all religions. You can choose to believe what you want so long as no others are harmed in the process. But when it comes to the quote spirituality, there's a completely different world out there. So I'm going to read you first the comment because I'll ramble on like I always do. The comment that I thought would kind of highlight this. Now, if you're the person who wrote the comment, I mean no offense by this. I won't read the name of the person. It's on an older video about psychedelics, and I don't recall the actual context of the video itself, so I'm just going to read the comment. But it says, "Bruh, listen, with you talking about spiritual practices and then talk about belief in the same sentence shows that you have no real knowledge about what spirituality and these practices are. Spirituality is actually about seeing the obvious, unfiltered by thoughts and concepts. It's about actually getting the most real view of what is. I do see your points because people use psychedelics irresponsibly." So I want to kind of highlight that part. The obvious, unfiltered by thoughts and concepts. Now, I've pondered this for a really long time. For years, this idea. That's why I'm bringing this up. And I walked away with it. I should probably just finish the discussion and it would be easier to define my position. So what I said was, the word spirituality is meaningless to me. Every practice is a belief, no matter how sure we believe we are. Humility is always the lesson. Anyone claiming knowledge and spirituality is just early in their research. The word itself is meaningless, though. We are all spirit. Nobody claims to the truth. You'll learn that you cannot see reality unfiltered without your thoughts and emotions. Because there is no obvious, only personal delusions. There is no real view of what is, only the illusion secured for yourself, ourselves. Anybody whom tells others different or that they don't understand spirituality is merely projecting themselves and their own insecurities about what it means. No offense. The truly spiritual wear polo shirts and you would never even know it. They don't tell you about it or pretend to know things because they know better. Life is long and we learn many different things. Now, this is good because the responses were great. Because there was, he said, if you say there's no truth and it's all personal beliefs, then that itself is a belief. Boom, exactly. But before that, somebody else left another comment, and it says, and this is an important point too. It says also, have you ever meditated? Then I'm pretty sure that you would know that you can live without thoughts. And I do know where they're coming from there, because I have. It says not that you never have them again, but you don't cling to them or put any reality to them, which allows you to see clear. And this whole business about how everything are just random personal views doesn't hold up, since every Zen master comes to the same type of conclusions, that everything is one. That's also true. You are not your thoughts, etc. The truth is we know nothing. That's exactly why you can live with, but free of thoughts and emotions, since they do not define the infinite awareness that you are. Now that I don't agree with. However, it says, now, do people experience enlightenment differently? Yes, of course. That's part of the God's infinite creativity. But they all have an underlying objective truth. Now to back up to this other part. We know nothing. That's why you can live with, but free of thoughts and emotions, since they do not define the infinite awareness you are. Now that assumes we are an infinite awareness. But that's the question. What is that infinite awareness? The old Alan Watts says, who were you before you were born? What do you remember? It's an interesting concept. So I went on to say, in advanced meditation and personal development, you learn that the only reason you can determine you're having no thoughts is because you are thinking based on what you know. Often people miss the main point, which is you're only aware that you have no thoughts because you know what it's like to have thoughts. The only you that exists is you. Without that, you cease to exist as an individual. This is what you have to accept in order to come full circle, in my opinion. I've studied plenty of Zen. Any true Zen master will tell you there are no answers, which I believe. And there is no truth. That is the riddle of Zen in a nutshell, acceptance that you cannot understand. As far as enlightenment, the word is a carrot on a stick. Enlightenment is what remains when you have stripped away the programming, which can never be fully stripped away. Enlightenment is the center of the onion. You cannot learn it or gain it. It's always there. The truth is, yes, you are your thoughts. The sooner we figure that out, the happier we are. And if you've ever met anyone with severe dementia, you'll understand right away. And then I went on, and I'm not going to burden you with all the rest of it, because he's basically went on to ask about, if you meditate and you aren't your thoughts, what are your thoughts? And this is a fascinating discussion. And mind you, I'm not pointing this out to say, look at this person and their stupidity. I don't want that to be what anybody interprets from this. I'm saying these are the ones I love, the discussions I love to have, because they open up that door of, well, what does this mean? And they remind me, there was a time in my past where, and still to this day, of course, where I'm trying to figure out exactly what spiritual means, what it means to be connected to the universe, to God, to truth, without letting those words be tainted by anyone else's opinions of them. I know that there are many different ways to get to that feeling. And for some people who have a religion, who are religious, they will say, well, the only way to get that is to take A, B, or C into your heart. Believe me, I've had plenty of discussions with plenty of different Christians who tell me that I'll never be truly happy or have that truth or the afterlife or be forgiven, whatever it may be, until I take Jesus into my heart. So there was a time where I said it, and I was just like, well, just to say it, I'll say it. And I mentioned this to a Christian once, and they said, well, you have to truly mean it. And I said, no, I'm not playing this game where I have to force myself to believe something I don't believe. If you're saying all I have to do is ask Jesus, then boom, I've asked Jesus, I'm moving on with my life. Baptism, all that, I don't buy into it. I don't believe in it. My family is secular. However, we are spiritual. We believe in a connection because we feel it, a connection to the universe. Here's where it gets weird, though. Trying to define that and what it means. When we put it into a practice. For example, I remember years ago, reading a bunch of different discussions between monks and gurus about whether or not psychedelics were a way to get to that satori experience, or that, it's like a semi-enlightenment or awakening, as opposed to long-term meditation and practices. Mind you, in the past, a lot of these people who meditated, who gained this knowledge and this enlightenment, starved themselves and sat in dark caves for long periods of time. Think about the ascetics in Buddhism. Even the whole story of Buddha himself, he made a mistake over and over. He made a mistake by starving himself for 7 years. He realized his mistake, sat under the Bodhi tree, meditated, and boom, he got enlightenment. That doesn't mean it's the only way. Psychedelics open these same doorways, and when people's brains have been scanned, whether it's taking a psychedelic drug, meditating, or prayer, and strong belief in God, all three of these things activate the same part of the brain. So, we need to come together and realize that as long as you're attaining this feeling, it doesn't matter what other people say about your method of attaining it. And it's not just even those, it's music. Music is like something that is so above and beyond anything that if you're not a musician you can't understand, but it's like meditation, right? I spent years learning guitar. I'd sit in my room and I'd play and I'd play and I'd play. You don't have to eliminate all sound. There's different forms. Some people use chanting meditation. Think of what music does. For example, right in front of me, I have this pedal that my friend gave me for my birthday. It's a Zoom pedal. I love this thing. All you do is you plug in a line. It takes batteries or a line. It's got a wah pedal on it. It's got all these different settings, a looper. It's an absolutely awesome device, and I can sit there, and when you're doing loops with it and you're learning how to play with your own jams. If you don't know, a looper means you just play a jam to a certain beat, and then you can continue to play to that jam while it plays by itself. So it loops something that you play over and over. I know that's pretty obvious, but I was thinking the other day about how this is it's meditational. It puts you in a zone. If you use like pad settings or really deep different sounds, it almost puts you in kind of a trance, because music itself, whether you're playing it or listening to it, can have similar effects to meditation, to psychedelics, and that's why I love listening to music when I'm on psychedelics. Boom. But there's a time and a place for everything. I won't be taking them tonight when I'm going to a show because they're very special to me. Psychedelics should be secondary to the music, not, I should say psychedelics should be primary and the music secondary, something you listen to while you're gaining these insights. But let me just tell you, what I've seen in my experiences with psychedelics has been the Godhead. At one time, I just said, I can't imagine seeing anything more divine and amazing. And I thought, this must be the tunnel. This must be what people talk about when they go through these near-death experiences. Well, dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, can cause very similar experiences, and it's pretty wild. And I'm not here promoting psychedelics, mind you. I don't take them very often. Once in a while I take some mushrooms or LSD, and about a week ago I took some orange sunshine tablets, and I forgot that I thought they were LSD, but I remembered afterwards when they hit me really quickly that it was actually a different substance, ALD52, which was a phenomenal time. And but I had some deep thoughts that night, and it's almost like rereading a book. It's like going into a trance or a meditation state if you allow yourself to get into that. So in other words, it can be like meditation if it's utilized properly. But moving on to other methods, woodworking. I'm a carpenter, and working with wood in your own shop can be a meditation in its own. It can put you in this flow state, and the point being that the flow state is what enlightenment really is, in my opinion. If you can put yourself in the flow state and be happy, that's where you really want to be, the golden zone. We will be searching through magic crystals and necklaces and charms, trying to find some sort of a truth, and drinking magic potions and water. And there's always some charlatan that will sell you the next snake oil. But you don't really find the same truth in your organite pyramids as you do in exercising or walking around the block or the park. There's something to be said about our own participation in our lives that, in my opinion, just living your life itself is spiritual. Living your life itself is enlightenment. When I said it was about peeling away the layers of the onion, what that meant was multiple things. But I use that example because it makes you cry doing it, for one, which is, I honestly didn't even really come up as the main part of it. I just thought of that. But yeah, it makes you cry to peel away the layers, for sure. And you keep peeling them away, and once you get to the center, there's nothing there. Enlightenment was always there, and it's nothing at the same time. It doesn't exist. It's just a state of awareness that we think we can attain, but it's never attainable. And even if it is, how are you going to share that with other people? What are you going to do with it? Where are the healers on the mountaintops, like we read about in the books? You know, they can save humanity. It's about saving yourself. And I think that that's the most enlightening, spiritual thing we can possibly do. Because once you save yourself, you can save others. And that's when it becomes about community and understanding that the most spiritual thing to me is my family, my connections, and, you know, living my life. But I still like dressing the part, of course. I'm a damn hippie. But I'm going to a concert, so hey, what can I say? But those are my thoughts on enlightenment and all that bullshit. I think it's kind of overrated, for one. I definitely don't subscribe to the idea that anybody has ever found all the true answers to life. But thanks for coming along. Thanks for coming to visit my channel and to hear me ramble. I'm actually really appreciate it for what it's worth. And I have my YouTube, my Patreon page. If you subscribe to Patreon, I have been trying to upload at least a few videos on and off to Patreon that are only for my patrons. And I'll be posting some more pictures there. And also, whatever, my Discord and all that bullshit, whatever, it doesn't matter. The internet just fucking sucks these days, dude. I mean, what can I say? Like, I want to be able to say, the future, I can be part of all these social media things and, like, talk with people, but it's just so up and down, and the world's so crazy right now that, you know, it's like you can't even talk about certain things on certain platforms. Ugh. Whatever. I'm out. I'll talk to you next time. Take care of each other. Peace out.